And so the last of the 10 so-called heroes have fallen. Here the way he's fallen is pretty anticlimactic, but I guess it's going for the excuse that he was wounded. And what Ohun did was basically luck. Or maybe we could just say that it doesn't matter how super powerful a general is, no one can survive a pierce through the body. I mean, the granted kingdom is more realistic than other things, but a reason why it feels anticlimactic is that some people fight for hours and then suddenly get overwhelmed. Here, Ohun's forced all of his strength into blocking the glaive of Gyoyun until his horse broke his legs, and he then used the horse falling along with his thrust to pierce Gyoyun. In a way that doesn't sound really like Gyoyun's style, but he won. And yes, as I just spoiled, Gyoyun is officially dead and have left behind his words, which by the way I find is kind of also anticlimactic. The angry enemy found the despair viewer, and this is Kingdom Chapter 610. Well, basically I said the first plot of it all, but we also see once again the flashback back when the great generals by Rincho's final time, as they promised him not to follow them in death, and also the fact dire health, dire blood, and die the blood of others, everything else. We saw the scene when Rincho officially died, closing his eyes, and the tears from his generals. Gyoyu, as I said before, Gyoyu used all of his strength to block the glaive, which broke the legs of his horse, which he then used as soon as fall to thrust the spear into Gyoyu. So that feels kind of underwhelming or something like that. It doesn't really sound like this is a way for someone as powerful as Gyoyu to fall. But again, both were injured, and Ohun was a combat pragmatist here. You know, he used what he had to his advantage. So in a way, you can't really complain about that. Either way, his army of course want to avenge him, but as Shin appears finally, Ohun surprisingly says to his army to wait, and says for the first time, finally, the words of the second thing that Rincho said. And let me tell you, it's pretty underwhelming. It feels that way, at least. I mean, we know already this. We know already that they have to do this. But I guess for a man like Yuyun, he is saying that there will come a time when you will question what you will do. Gyuyun was unquestionably loyal to his lord Rincho. It is actually revealed in this chapter that Rincho practically raised him as well. So it's just that. So while we may feel it's underwhelming of the fact when Gyuyun says that you have to become blades, a sword that's been raised to deliver a row must be allowed to fully complete its downward strike. You must see it through the very end, no matter how bitter the cost. And technically, as I said before, we already know that. Shin knows that the path they will take will be full of blood. Eisei know that the path will be full of blood. Ohun, on the other hand, may not know, but he also do know that the path will not be an easy one. But I do think here he is saying more that there will come a time when you will question what you will do. But that doesn't matter. You have to keep moving forward. You have to keep wielding your blade, and you have to keep cutting down what stands in your way, all for a better future. I think that is what he is saying. So, having said those words, it's revealed that Yoyun was the first of the great generals, or at least the first one that Rincho raised. So in a way that is pretty, well, you know, symbolic in a way. He was the first and he was the last to die. Of course, he would have preferred if he was the first to die. After all, he was just that loyal to his lord. But I still feel like, yeah, this is some sweet moment of it all. It's also pretty badass that even in his final moment, Gyuyun pulls out the spear that pierced his chest, just to say the final word, and also saying that he also saying that Shin surprisingly do not fully understand what he is saying. Then again, it's his enemy who just said this. So Guyun just says that when the day comes for the lands are ready, you will understand. And he thus says that it was his lord who should have united China, and he was fully prepared to offer his life. But fate had other idea. Although living this long is of course not so bad. And we see brief flashbacks that apparently Guyun may actually have been a slave boy that was saved by Rincho, and then educated and everything, with a little bit of, well, force, as well as being a rival to Rempa's right-hand man. No, not that young-looking boy, the guy with the big, ugly mustache or something like that. Even Rincho had a rivalry with Rempa, but it was known that they were good friends. With those final words, he says it's been an honor to live this long as well. And so Guyun passed away, the final of Sao's 10 great heroes. With that, only Riboku and technically Hawken are left. I mean, yeah, I know Kisu and his army are there, but for some reason Moten is not so very relevant in the story right now, which I feel is pretty bad. Come on, he has lost his attendant. He needs to be on the scene, And Kisu was said to be a pretty powerful one, but everyone was overhyping Guyun, and he's finally dead. It was about time. So I for one feel like this is meant to represent that with this, the old legends are officially dead. What awaits us next is only the new era. Now's the question though, how Ohon and Shin is gonna escape this. I mean, the army will probably pursue them like mads, but we'll see, won't we? So that's basically this chapter. What did you feel about it? Did you feel like it was too anticlimactic? And if you ask me what my thoughts are on this chapter, then I'm just saying that you haven't. Then I'm just assuming you haven't seen the review, because I already said it. It is okay for this one at least. Give me your thoughts if you have any.